Another league is ensnared in the NBA gambling scandal. 2 suspects are arrested in connection to the Louvre Heist, and Jamaica braces for Hurricane Melissa. I'm Georgia Howe with Daily Wire Executive Editor John Bickley. It's Monday, October 27th, and this is Evening Wire.
As the government shutdown drags on, several looming deadlines could push the standoff to a breaking point. One of those is November 1st, which will see both the start of open enrollment for Obamacare and the day 42 million Americans could lose access to food stamps. Democrats say they won't back a funding bill that excludes an extension of Obamacare subsidies, warning health insurance premiums could spike by thousands next year. But Republicans accuse Democrats of holding the government hostage for political gain.
In a major twist to the NBA gambling scandal, an NFL Hall of Famer has now been linked to the case. Crane & Company co-host David Cohn has more.
The scandal broke last week when an NBA player and coach were indicted for allegedly participating in a mob-connected illegal gambling ring, one that prosecutors say involved rigged high-stakes poker games and possibly manipulated sporting events. Now, an investigative reporter claims NFL Hall of Famer Antonio Gates was used as a quote-unquote face card, helping to lure new players into the operation. An anonymous alleged victim says he and his friends lost more than $1 million to the scheme, which was reportedly fronted by Gates and other athletes and coaches named in the indictment.
2 suspects are now in custody in Paris for their alleged connection to what many have called the boldest heist of the century. Daily Wire senior editor Cabot Phillips has the latest.
French authorities say 2 men were arrested over the weekend in connection with last week's crown jewel heist from the Louvre. One suspect was detained at Charles de Gaulle Airport while reportedly trying to board a flight to Algeria. Officials say both men, who were previously known to police, were identified through DNA evidence left at the scene. Forensic teams had collected more than 150 samples after thieves used a lift to scale the museum's facade, smash display cases, and escape in under 8 minutes. Investigators are still hunting for other accomplices and for the missing jewels, once worn by empresses across the 19th century in France. Here's what former FBI Special Agent Robert Whitman told Fox News this week.
There is some information about possibly one of the guards speaking over the phones to somebody that might have been involved in the case. But we don't know that for a fact. But we do know that almost 89% of museum heists in the United States have had some insider component. So it's possible, it's a good possibility that this one might have had as well.
President Trump gave a cold warning to Russia this morning following a missile test. The Kremlin released a video over the weekend celebrating the success of its new nuclear-capable missile. Russian President Vladimir Putin called for his military to prepare to deploy the missile, which he has previously described as invincible. When asked about the test, Trump had this to say.
They know we have a nuclear submarine, the greatest in the world, right off their shores. So, it doesn't have to go 8,000 miles, and they're not playing games with us. We're not playing games with them either. And I don't think it's an appropriate thing for Putin to be saying either, by the way. You ought to get the war ended. That's what you ought to do instead of testing missiles.
In other military news, the next wave of fighter jet, the X-Bat, is ready to take off without a pilot. Daily Wire senior editor Joel Needler has the details.
A U.S. defense technology company has unveiled a fully autonomous AI-powered fighter jet. Shield AI, based in San Diego, announced its new aircraft, the X-Bat, which can take off vertically, reach altitudes of up to 50,000 feet, and operate without GPS or constant communication links. Unlike traditional U.S. aircraft that depend on runways and ground infrastructure, the X-Bat is designed for flexibility and resilience. It can launch from mobile platforms, requires no runway, and occupies only a third of the storage space required for jets and helicopters. The X-Bat's onboard AI enables fully autonomous navigation and threat avoidance using advanced sensors, eliminating the need for satellite or ground-based communications. While the aircraft can operate independently, Shield AI emphasizes that human oversight will remain central to mission planning and execution. The company expects X-Bat to be combat-ready by 2029.
Javier Milei and his Freedom Advances party won a decisive victory in Argentina's midterm elections on Sunday. Milei's party won roughly 41% of the vote and will more than double its representation in Congress, giving the eccentric libertarian leader fresh momentum for his free market agenda. Importantly, Freedom Advances cleared the 1/3 threshold of seats needed in each chamber of Congress to protect Milei's executive decrees and veto power.
A U.S. military helicopter and jet fighter from the same carrier crashed within 30 minutes of each other on Sunday. Both aircraft took off from the USS Nimitz and crashed into the South China Sea. All 5 service members on board were rescued and are in stable condition. The Nimitz is the Navy's oldest aircraft carrier and due to be decommissioned next year. Speaking to reporters on Air Force One, President Trump called the event highly unusual and said that bad fuel may be to blame.
Jamaica is facing its worst cyclone in decades. Hurricane Melissa is projected to reach Category 5 by the time it makes landfall on the island tomorrow morning. Haiti and Cuba are also bracing for torrential rains, deadly storm surges, and landslides. Evacuation orders are in place on all of the Caribbean islands in the storm's path. Florida is projected to narrowly miss the storm system as it travels northeast into the Atlantic.
Early voting is open in the race for New York City mayor, and frontrunner Zohran Mamdani has tagged in 2 heavy hitters to close the deal. Fellow Democratic Socialists Bernie Sanders and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez joined Mamdani last night for a New York is not for sale rally in Queens.
New York must have a mayor who represents the working families of this city, not the billionaire class.
The very forces that Zohran is up against in this race mirrors what we are up against nationally.
Early voting for the mayoral race between Mamdani, Independent Andrew Cuomo, and Republican Curtis Sliwa opened on Saturday to strong turnout. The final ballots will be cast in this and other elections nationwide on Tuesday, November 4th.
GOP lawmakers are pushing to end Christian persecution in China as underground church pastors face detention. Daily Wire congressional reporter Amber Jo Cooper reports.
Republicans on Monday introduced a bill that would sanction Chinese entities linked to Beijing's persecution of Christians. The Combating the Persecution of Religious Groups in China Act aims to strengthen America's response to combat the CCP's ongoing acts of religious persecution targeting Christians and other religious minorities. If passed, the U.S. would sanction any Chinese official responsible for abuses of religious freedom. Abuses include arbitrary detention, forced sterilization, torture, forced labor, and serious restrictions on freedom of religion or belief, expression, and movement. The legislation comes just weeks after the Chinese Communist Party detained more than 30 pastors and staff from Zion Church, a well-known Christian underground house church in China. Secretary of State Marco Rubio has condemned the detentions and is calling for the immediate release of the church members.
New Jersey's top teachers union is set to host a woke drag event for teachers. Daily Wire reporter Amanda Presa-Giacomo has the story.
The New Jersey Education Association is set to host an event next month to celebrate the, quote, vibrant world of drag for public school teachers. The powerful union represents hundreds of thousands of New Jersey educators, and it's also behind one of the top spending political groups in the state. It's poured tens of millions of dollars into Democratic campaigns, and last month it endorsed Democratic gubernatorial candidate Mikey Sherrill over Republican Jack Ciattarelli. Just a few days after the election is set to take place, it will hold the event called Drag is Not a Crime, the Past, Present, and Future of Drag. The program is part of an initiative to boost DEI with a focus on minority communities in K-12 classrooms. The New Jersey Project promoted the event by pushing the need to ignite creativity in the classroom and declaring that drag is what education is all about.
Texas is moving to bring in more business from the coasts. Daily Wire reporter Zach Jewell has the details.
Lone Star State voters will decide next month on 3 ballot measures aimed at cementing the state's low tax reputation. While the proposals wouldn't directly cut taxes, they would bar future legislatures from creating new ones. The first measure would permanently ban a state capital gains tax. Texas already prohibits income taxes under its constitution, but this proposal would close potential loopholes that have allowed other states to impose it. A second measure would prohibit taxes on certain financial transactions, including those made on the upcoming Texas Stock Exchange slated to launch next year. The final measure would eliminate estate taxes, often called death taxes. Lawmakers hope the measures will signal that Texas remains committed to a pro-business, low-tax future.
President Trump says he'd love to have another sit-down with North Korea's Kim Jong-un. Trump is set to end his nearly week-long Asia trip this week with a visit to South Korea. He first floated the possibility of meeting with Kim before departing on Friday. Asked today on Air Force One if he'd actually made plans to do so and how he might force North Korea to come to the table, the president said this.
Have you heard anything back from
I
Kim
haven't
Jong-un?
mentioned it. I haven't said anything, but I'd love to meet with him if he'd like to meet. I got along great with Kim Jong-un. I liked him. He liked me. If he wants to meet, I'll be in South Korea.
But what could the U.S. offer him at this point?
Well, we have sanctions. That's pretty big to start off with. I would say that's about as big as you get.
Anything is like an inducement to do a deal?
I just had a good relationship with him. I would love to see him if he wants to, if he even gets this message. We haven't mentioned anything, but he knows I'm going over there. If he'd like to meet, I'd love to meet him.
And a decades-long rivalry between PlayStation and Xbox has come to an end. According to a viral post from GameStop, which even grabbed the attention of the White House, the dreaded console wars are over. In the post, the game distributor announced that Halo Combat Evolved will come to Sony's console in 2026. The post, which racked up millions of views, got an unexpected boost when the White House reposted it with a meme of President Trump as Halo's Master Chief. GameStop's stock jumped more than 5% in early trading and renewed meme stock buzz.
Wow, the power of memes. All right, those are your drive home updates today. To learn more about these stories, go to dailywire.com. And in case you missed it this morning, we covered some major stories, including Trump locking in big trade deals in Asia while also cracking down on Canada, the war on cartels escalating in the Caribbean, and the state of the Trump economy. Thanks for tuning in. We'll be back tomorrow morning with another full edition of Morning Wire.